Hello, everybody. This is Constance from Mysterious Galaxy. I know there's always that great, and we're on the internet, and we're live.
Hello. What is happening?
Thank you so much to everyone for joining us tonight. We have a very fun Friday for you with an awesome contemporary YA story from Julian Winters. Thank you so much for joining us, Julian.
Thank you so much for having me.
Oh, of course. And he is going to be in conversation with CB Lee, who is no stranger to our store, who many of you are familiar with. So I'm going to go ahead and let them take it away. But you have an evening of contemporary awesome YA-ness with all the good things. And even I'm saving an independent bookstore, which, I mean, you know, slight bias, but got to be a fan of that.
This was meant to happen.
But I will go ahead and let you guys take it away and give a little bit more in-depth about yourself, because I know that was a very brief intro. But before I skedaddle, just to let you guys know, it is the Vanna White section. Down below, you will see a Ask a Question button. When you click that, you can, as it implies, ask a question. Please feel free to ask all of the questions that you have, because questions are what make things fun. So bring them on. Ask us everything. And then there's also the buy book and personalized book plates down below. We are very excited to not only offer you books, but personalized book plates, which are very hard to get these days. So if you are interested in this book, which you should be, hit that button down below. And now I will skedaddle and let CB and Julian take it away. Have a good event, guys.
Thank you so much, Constance. Thank you so much, Mysterious Galaxy, for having us today. I'm so excited to be here in today's world.
Is it today's where I feel like I'm living in an alternate universe and no one's just informed me?
I mean, I would like to, petition the writer of the universe to, go ahead and wrap up the third act so we can where the scroll of like who got arrested, who got so on and so forth. But it's time. Hello. Okay, I forgot to do introductions. We just jump right into conversation.
As we do.
Yeah, as we do. Hello, everyone. I'm CB Lee. I'm the author of the Sidekick Squad series. I'm so excited and delighted and honored to be here with the incredible, incomparable Julian Winters. He is so near and dear to me. I believe we met in 2016.
Gosh, was it that? Was it 16? 17.
17. Okay.
17. Yes. Yeah.
Yes. And it was such a joy. I think Julian is one of my favorite people ever in the universe, because he's always consistently we've had this conversation where you're tired of people calling you kind, because it's the first.
Oh my God. I am not.
You're not a marshmallow. You're not
I am not. I am a dark spirit. I just don't let everybody see it.
Regardless of what you I feel you can be as prickly as you want to be, but I feel I think Julia is just one of the best souls I've ever met. And I'm so happy for everything from Lions to Remy to some of everything. And I'm so overjoyed that this story is out there and everyone's being able to read the work. So just a quick roadmap. We're just going to chat about the book, about the writing. We're going to play a fun game later, which is actually a game in the Summer of Everything, which is one of these three.
Oh, no!
So I have some pre questions, or three things that I have already pre-chosen, but if y'all in the chat want, or do the ask a question, if, just for fun later, if you want Julian to pick between three things, it's basically a version that our dear friends need go and West haven't, it's the game they play to pass the time in Once Upon a Page, where only one of these three things can stay. So think on that. Think of any other questions you want to ask us. And let's jump right into the Summer of Everything. So let's just go right into, tell me about what this process was writing this book. Because technically, this was written long before
long before.
Let's go back. Origin story.
Origin story. Oh, let's do it. Let's put it all out there. Okay, so the Summer of Everything was actually written in the small gap between when I put Lions out there. I submitted it to Interlude Press. Fingers crossed, stressed out, hoping that they would want this book because that's the publisher I wanted to publish it with. And I was, like I said, I was so stressed. I was like, every day was like, if you want to see real dark Julian, that during that period I was evil to everyone, just because that anxiousness and that worry of something that you've been dreaming about since forever being out there, and you have to now wait to see whether, you get accepted, whether someone tells you, yes, we love this, you're good enough, let's do this kind of thing. So I needed an escape from everything. And this story came to me because I love rom-coms. I am such a sucker for a good rom-com, such a sucker for a good best friend crush, because that's legitimately what I've done all my life, is crush on best friends. And I needed a place where I felt as a queer person of color, I felt like I existed as the hero. Like, I'm the main character. I'm the one that, everyone's rooting for to get, the love interest, or to succeed, or to make my dreams come true. And so I started writing Summer of Everything. And I finished it while waiting to hear about Lions, and it was a hot mess, but that's okay. It was actually originally an adult novel. It wasn't even young adult. And I finished it, I put it to the side, and I was like, okay, that's there. If all goes wrong with this whole Running with Lions YA stint, you got something waiting that you can kind of move on to. And then things happened with Lions. Remy came along, and my publisher was like, yeah, I had submitted to them, and they wanted it, but we had decided Remy should come first because that was just a story I needed to tell. And we revisited it, and my editor, Annie Harper, she was just like, so what do we want to do with this? And I was like, honestly, I know I wrote it as an adult, but I want it to be a young adult, because I feel the themes and the things I tackle in there are something that's really needed for teens, and for people who are in that transition period of not knowing what their life is going to look like, and everyone else, throwing these expectations on them. I said, I just feel like this is a great young adult novel. She was like, great, because I was thinking the same thing. And we just, I don't know, we hashed out on like a long phone call about the different things to change. And it just came, when I went to rewrite it, it just came so organically. And I was so happy to return to that feeling of being able to escape and love who Wes is. That's a long story of how that all came together.
Yeah. It's wonderful. Like, I love that you chatted a little about that themes, because one of my favorite things about Summer of Everything, it really encapsulates like that quintessential like summer before college. Like, you just finished high school. Like, what are you doing with your life? And and it felt like that summer for me, actually. Like, before I went to UCLA, and like I was just like, what am I doing with this summer? What am I doing with what young adult, the genre does really well is it takes all of these feelings of like, who am I, what am I doing, and let's go back to this theme, like, tell me about Wes and Nico, and you really to like not only their journey of who they are, but we get a little window in everyone's lives here that Once Upon a Page touches, like everyone from Phil to Cooper, and like let's jump right into like what was running through your mind. There's running with lions. What was running through your mind as like you were thinking about themes that were like important to you? Like, what was important for you to address as like a young person going through this pivotal change?
It's funny because the themes, like the theme of not knowing what to do when it comes to college and life after high school. Like I said, it originally was an adult novel, so it didn't have all of that in there, but it had like pieces of it, which was basically in that version of it, Wes still had no idea. Like all he cared about was the bookstore and this thing he asked for his best friend. And so when I was like, okay, I need to really like hone in on this fact that he is having a hard time letting go of things he's not sure to do his life. It brought me back to my own experiences with college and high school, which was, I had no clue what I was doing in high school and what my plan was for after high school. Like seriously chose the college I chose because that's where my best friend was going. Like that's the kind of codependent issues I have. So I didn't know what I was doing. And then I went to college and I hated the college that I went to. I absolutely hated it. My best friend, she flourished, she was doing great. And I was, like suffering like terribly. I didn't feel like I knew who I was. So I left. And I thought to myself, like, that's something I want to write about. That's something I want to show to teens, which is I was given this roadmap of what I was supposed to take after high school, especially being a person of color. It's like, you have to go to college. You have to get this degree. You have to succeed in these ways in order to even get a glimpse at success because it's not going to be given to you kind of thing. And so I was given this roadmap I was supposed to take and I didn't take it. And it led to other things for me. And I was like, I just really want to explore that to show teens that all these expectations everyone else is putting on you and all these things that you're supposed to do because that's the way that you get successful and you get your house and you get your family and all these other things. It's not necessarily the road you have to take in order to find something that looks like success to you. So I just really wanted to hone in on that. And it just became this recurring theme for me. It's like, I'm in my late 30s and I still have no clue sometimes what I'm doing with my life. What am I going to wear today? What am I going to do over here? If something happens, like I shut down, I don't know how to handle it kind of thing. Why not explore that, from a teen perspective where it's amplified so much more because you have these adults who are piling on expectation on you on top of your own worries and your own fears. And so that's how that all came together, and being able to explore it through each character, how they all respond to that was a lot of fun because it's very much like my own friend group where we all have our own different paths to what we call success. And we all handled the pressure in very, very different ways.
Yeah, I definitely feel that, especially with like expectation, because like everyone defines like you all the influences you have in your life from your parents or like people around you, your friends, what they're doing, and society themselves. Like this is what success looks like, and there's like an expected number of milestones, I think, and even more so as like queer people, I think there's a pressure of like do you know what you want? Have you had like there's expectation of like, oh, having certain experiences by a certain age, and like we start off in the book where like Ella's teasing Wes a lot for being a virgin, and like there's so much about like I think like in the queer experience there's a lot of people, including myself, that like came out later and didn't have this like the like I think a lot of like there's an adolescence that feels out of reach to us, and we experience that later.
Yeah, I totally agree because so much of it is us not following the expectations or the experience that is given to us, and also you're spending so much time trying to figure yourself out and discover yourself. You don't have, you don't dive into all those other experiences that everybody else has. The what I like to call the Netflix experience. You don't get all those things because you're so consumed with trying to figure out who am I, and how do I fit into this world that already has these like set molds I'm already supposed to like fit into, but I don't. So yeah, I think getting to explore that through Wes, through Nico, through Cooper, through all of them in a different way, I think it's so important to just, like, even by the end, there's some characters who are still discovering, so many parts about stuff, and I leave it purposely open-ended to show people like by the end of a book, by the end of a year, by the end of a month, you still don't always have yourself figured out. You still don't, know how you're going to identify aspects of your life, and that's really okay.
Yeah. I love that message too, that it's okay to not have it figured out. It's okay not to be okay. And to slowly like unpack all of this and figure it out as you go.
Yeah. Yeah, it's something I hope to see a lot more, where happily ever after is not set with like, okay, happily ever after means everything is all figured out and you're good to go, no more problems in life, and more like happily ever after is just you existing.
Mm-hmm. Love that. And I feel like, and something about what brings me so much joy about reading The Summer of Everything and all of your work is like how much like joy there is in like just existing and getting to be and getting to experience things, whether it's like figuring out who you are or having a crush or, you know, all of like following your dreams and all of these things. Like what does like, how would you define like joy in terms of being a queer person of color or just being in your writing? Like what do you feel like is important to you to like imbue in your work?
I think for me, especially writing queer people of color, my definition of joy is humanizing our experiences and not stop making us like the exception or like we're in a whole different category of life and whatnot. I think a lot of people, especially for me as a Black person, a lot of people when they see me, they see my pain or my trauma or my struggle or the ways that I'm never going to be as great as XYZ because of my race, or as a queer person, it's the same thing. It's because of my sexuality. This automatic, this person's going to suffer, and I hate that. I hate it so much that we don't normalize what it's like to be a person of color. We don't normalize what it's like to be a queer person. It's always this thing that we have to fight to have joy. We have to fight to have happiness. We have to it's this constant struggle. So for me, when I'm writing, it's all about me taking all these things that were granted to someone who's not a person of color, someone maybe who's white and straight and cis and able-bodied and male, or I'm taking all these things from that they get from, that's like their birthright, that they get all these, they get happiness, they get joy, they get success and whatnot. I'm taking that and I'm giving it to us because we deserve these things. We don't have to fight for them. You know, it's not something we have to earn. We don't have to earn a happy ending while they get to just automatically get it. We deserve it. And so that's what I always feel like when I'm writing. Is like, I am not going to continue to let your story be dictated by the suffering and the struggle it takes for you to get to this platform. It's going to be more about the things that you enjoy. Are you just falling on your face? Like, and messing up and having the right to mess up and not be judged for it, kind of thing. That's what joy looks like for me in my writing. Just having the things that I feel like were not automatically granted just because of race or sexuality or gender or non-gender or whatever it is that separates us from the majority.
Yeah. I love what you said about like normalizing it and getting to feel like we are seen, that we do deserve all this. Because I think there's so much, like so many messages that we get about like I, you know, growing up, like thinking that like, oh, like, do I just even deserve to be happy? Do I deserve to find joy and love? And like, you know, a lot of the media like prevailing, like, you know, 10, 20 years ago had a lot of like, you know, what we were talking about, you know, just like the perception of like me as a kid reading like fiction was like, oh, okay, like these are the endings that are possible. And it's been really exciting, just like in general in fiction and young adult fiction and television, just to see more creators stepping up and be like, no, I want to write more experiences. I want you to see the full spectrum of possibilities.
Yeah, I think that compared to where we were back in a few years ago, 10 years ago, 20 years ago, I feel like we've made strides. I'd like to see a lot more strides being made. I'd like to see a lot more accessibility for us. I'd like to see us to have more stories out there where it feels like, you know, we are just as worthy as anyone else to have these moments. But yeah, for me, like reading this year has been such a joy because I'm getting to see so many different books from so many different points of view, with so many different experiences, and it just feels so good to either feel seen or to know someone else in my life is going to feel seen as soon as I put that book in their hand.
That's awesome.
Yeah, it's been really
Do you
good.
have any recent favorites?
Oh my gosh, yes.
Do we? I mean, we don't have like all night, but
right. You would think I'm supposed to.
I mean, we could potentially chat about this forever.
Exactly. Okay, so then I'll keep it to 6. I had to think because there's like 5 that already come to me. Okay, so Cemetery Boys by Aiden Thomas.
Yes.
You Should See Me a Crown by Leah Johnson. Legendborn by Tracy Dion. Darius the Great Deserves Better by Adib Karam. What else? I know this off the top of my head. I'm blanking. I'm blanking. Surrender Your Son by Adam Sass. I don't know. I'm just gonna stop there. But there's so many great books out right now that I'm so thankful for. Oh, I'm so thankful.
It's so great, and I love like how many genres that we're getting and how many different, like everything from like rom-com to hard sci-fi to epic fantasy. It's been awesome for like queer fiction and queer YA fiction in general.
Yeah, it's nice that we're nudging into these spaces. Like, yeah, hey, we belong here. We should have been here a long time ago, but make room because we're coming through. It's so amazing. So,
do you want to chat about rom-coms?
Yeah.
You said earlier that there is a lot of like love that you have for rom-com genre. What about it inspired like Wes and Nico's story? Tell me about any favorite tropes you have. Like,
oh gosh, what about it inspired their story? First of all, I am probably, I'm claiming this. You can all argue with me on Twitter if you like, or on Instagram, it's fine. But I am the world's worst flirt. I am notorious for tripping on nothing on the carpet. I am incredibly bad at like I'm oblivious to someone who might be interested in me. Like so many things about rom-coms and that feeling of that wonderful tingly sensation in your belly, but also like doing the stupidest things in order to continue to have that there. That is me. And so I love rom-coms, and I was like, I always wanted to be like, I wanted to have that. I wanted to have that for a geeky, nerdy character, especially a geeky, nerdy character that's not falling for, like it's so many of the rom-coms I had growing up was if it was a nerdy character, they're falling for the dark, mysterious, rebel character. And I was like, I never got into that. Like leather jackets make me itch. I don't know. So like, I want to write about like geeks falling for other geeks or skateboarders or whatever the case may be. And that's how that all came together, because I was just like, I want that space for us. I want that space where it's like I can fall for someone who I have some kind of mutual love for things for. So that's how it kind of came about. My favorite tropes, like give me fake dating all day, every day. I am ridiculously friends to lovers. Obviously, I probably need to stop writing so much of that. I love it. I also love a good enemies to lovers book. And I'm really digging like friends, almost like friends to like possible crush love interest to back to being friends kind of thing. I love that because I think that's so real about life, is like we can have like a million crushes on people, but that the value of a platonic friendship and the things that means to your world is like, y'all, it's almost better. No, I'm gonna say it is better sometimes than actual like relationships and romance and books. Like give me that, I had a crush on you, it was great, but also I really value our friendship, and I'm glad that we can still maintain that. Gold mine.
I love that, like, especially in your books and like seeing the value of platonic relationships and seeing how important they are and how elevated they are to like romantic relationships. And it's really important to me to see like, you know, you have like Arrow Ace characters and getting to explore like the importance and the significance of like these people are like, you're in an intimate relationship with these people and you have that deep connection and you have that like incredible like bond with, and it's not necessarily romantic and it doesn't have to be.
Yeah. I feel so honored to have written a character like Cooper, where I get to have that space and that person who shows you the value of platonic friendship, shows you like he is in love with friendships. Like there is just nothing greater to him. And I just love being able to have that space. I love having this space with a character like Nico, which hope this is not too much of a spoiler, but he's still like in the book, Wes knows Nico's queer, but Nico hasn't found the identity that fits him. And I love being able to have that space like that and the friendships and whatnot that Nico has that don't ever feel like, okay, but also when are you going to, when are you going to decide who you are? When are you going to do this? It's not about that. It's so much more about, the uplift and the support that he gets from everyone that surrounds him. And having that space, I think is so important. I swear friendships, I don't know, just like have been so much to me from like the end of high school to now.
Yeah, it's beautiful. I feel like friendships are so affirming and life-saving, and like when you find that group of people or like person or persons that really like you're creating your own language where you're only speaking with them, and it's like so unique and beautiful. And it was really exciting to see that dynamic in Summer of Everything. Tell me about, like, you mentioned some of these, it's like your friend crew, like, are there any dynamics that are based on relationships you've had, or like did you draw from like personal experience or any characters that like felt like you're like, oh, I want to honor this person, or like
That's a good question. I feel like I will say Ella's relationship with Wes is very reminiscent to my relationship with a friend of mine, where I really like high school was really hard for me, and she was always affirming. She was always like, be yourself. Like she could tell I was wearing a mask the whole time. She could just tell. And she was very, like she would see me inside of school and outside of school, and she loved the outside of school version of me. She was like, just be that. I will always have your back. I will not let anyone, talk smack about you. Just be that. I remember one time we were at my sister's soccer game, and she was just like, you know what? You should just stand up and like shout what you feel. And friends are so good at convincing you to do things that you never do. And I just did. I just stood up, I think it was like during intermission, and just shouted how I feel. And that made it into the book. It's a scene that happens towards the end in a conversation between Ella and Wes. And it was very much taken from real life, where it's just like you have that friend that makes you feel courageous and makes you feel like, yes, I don't care what anyone else feels about me. This is who I am. So that's very much drawn from real life. I don't think anyone else was. I try to stray as far from my friend group to like actual writing, only because in my mind, I know they're never going to read my books. They buy them all, but they're never going to read them. But in my mind, I'm saying it's going to be that one day where they're going to pick it up and they're going to see it and they're going to call you out. And I just don't want that experience. So, but that one very much, I very much took that from life. Yeah.
That's wonderful. Yeah. Let's chat a little bit about Santa Monica and the setting and the music, because it was just so much fun hearing I felt like I was just hearing the vibe in the store, like as we were going, because it just felt so like fun just to feel like the way that you like wove in just like the beats of what everyone was listening to and what they were feeling was so it was really like artful.
Thank you. So when I first tried to come to like get this book out of my head because it was just so loud and proud, I did not know the setting and I couldn't like capture the vibe. I could like dialogue was just coming to me left and right, left and right. But it's like, what is the vibe of this book? And it was in early 2017. I took a trip out to Santa Monica all by myself. I'd been to LA when I was much younger and did all the stupid things you do then as a tourist. I was just, but I went to Santa Monica by myself this time, and I stayed near the beach and near the pier, and I just remember it's the first time where I felt like this is where I belong. Like my mind was at peace, my body was at peace. I was just in the moment it was like 4 or 5 days, and I was like, this is it. This is where it needs to happen. This is what I need. And I'm a huge proponent of writing the music. Like, that's my jam. Every book I write has a playlist of at least 150 songs. And I just happened to stumble upon a band named Laney at the time when I came back from Santa Monica, and their music is just so SoCal. It's so chill, but it's so like poetic and like so much like you can feel like the love and the crush and everything in their music. And it just kind of all came together that I had found the setting, I had found the music, and then it just started flowing as I was writing. And I kind of wanted everyone to feel that as they read it. Like, I put certain songs at a certain point, so you just kind of felt like what was this feeling? Because I think like we feel so much while consuming media through like so much can be said in the scene without dialogue, just through the music. And I wanted to try to capture that in like a book form. And so I hope people, when they pick it up, they feel that like, okay, I definitely feel what Wes is going through in this moment, because Julian put this one song in there and now I know, what it is. So yeah, it came together, I don't know, so wonderfully, and I'm so glad that it did.
It's awesome. All right, I have a few more questions, but while I'm like wrapping up some of the conversation part, if any of y'all want to pop a question, you click the ask a question button and then you can type in a question, or if there's folks watching from Facebook or other platforms, you can pop in a question and we'll be able to see them and review them. Let's chat a little bit about your writing process. Like, what's changed from book 1 to 2 to 3? Like, how do you feel? Like, has your writing process changed? Like, have you learned anything that you feel like you want to impart on any aspiring readers out there?
How has it changed? Let's see. Yeah, I am a hardcore plotter now. I wasn't like not a hardcore plotter. I wasn't like a pantser from the get-go, but I could usually take like a bare bones outline and go from there. Like, that's kind of how I did with Running with Lions, and different scenes would come to me at different points, and I would just do it that way. I remember just scribbling stuff on whatever I could find and then try to piece it all together before I sat down and wrote. But now I'm very much in I have to have this detailed outline. I have to know all these things about the characters before I jump in. It just helps me so that I don't have to go back and reference stuff and remember like, oh yeah, what color was that person's eyes? Or it could be the smallest detail or the biggest thing where it's like, oh, I've already wrote about this, I need to move on and not repeat it thing. I've learned so gratefully through copy edits that every time I go to use a word now when I'm writing, I Google it. So I make sure I'm using the correct word. Thank you so much, Nikki, for imparting that on me. I Google everything now to make sure I'm using a word properly. Just saves me time later on from being embarrassed for totally getting that one wrong. But I love that. I love that I've learned to make sure that I'm not just writing to be writing. I'm writing with thought, and I'm writing with care, and I'm writing with the knowledge that what I'm saying is making sense. Because a lot of times when we're writing, it's so much in your head that you just like vomit this on the page and be done.
Yeah.
But now I take a lot more care with how I'm going about doing that. So those are the things that have changed the most. Other than that, I still think I have a long ways to go on the learning process. And I love that. I love that I don't feel like it's still not some of it's still not second nature. It's still very much I'm educated, and I want to make sure I know what I'm doing when I'm doing it.
Yeah, I don't know if I'll ever, like, I think learning is just something that is always constant. Like, every day I'm learning something new, whether it's like, you can't put an M dash there. I'm like, really? Are you sure? Like, can I just?
I know, right? Are you sure? It's a lot of fun rules that I've become accustomed to. But yeah, I love that we are constantly learning.
Yeah. Yeah, and just like with plotting and outlining and figuring out what works for you and how that evolves. Yes, yeah. I see you, Matthew. I agree. M dash anywhere.
I completely agree. I don't know what they're talking about. I will not take out anymore.
It's honestly my favorite punctuation mark. Awesome. So I see folks have been doing some questions, which is great. I'm just going to pop in while I'm going to scroll through the questions. We're going to do one of these three things, and we'll start with Instagram, Twitter, or TikTok.
Oh, you know what? I'm not going to lie to you. It's Instagram. It's Instagram. Okay. Instagram. I feel I can be my most creative self also while absorbing everybody else's creativity. Plus, everybody knows I'm obsessed with sunsets and sunrises. So I specifically make sure my feed is full of different like environmental photography and stuff. So I get to be on Instagram and be at peace also.
Mm-hmm. That's great. Okay, so we're going to jump into the questions. Here's one. I feel like it's coming over from Facebook from Thank You, Miss Fierce Galaxy. You spoke a lot about joy. Happy face. Which scene brought you the most joy to write?
That is a hard question. I'm not gonna lie, y'all. I have struggled through many books, but this is a book that I smiled through 90% of the way. So a scene that brought me most. Okay. I want to combine two scenes because it's in the same chapter. But there's a scene where it's a flashback of Wes coming out to Nico for the first time, and it was my first time writing a coming out scene, like between friends and whatnot. I did it in Running with Lions with Sebastian and his mom, but this one just felt so much different, and it just felt so like I don't think we've changed, but maybe 2 or 3 words in that entire scene from the first draft. It's remained intact as is, and then the follow-up scene where Wes and Nico are talking back and forth as they go to Once Upon a Page about the time they went to prom together. I just have so many, tingling sensations writing that scene. It's just so cool to live out my dream of finally going to prom with my crush kind of thing. Even though it's established that they're just friends going together, it felt so good. So.
Mm-hmm. Well, that's great. Okay, awesome. I'm gonna pepper these with the one of these three. Okay. So your next one is cold brew, sweatshirts, and sneakers.
I will go with sneakers because I cannot wear a nice dress shoe. I can't wear a nice casual. A nice loafer. Flip flops and me do not get along. But sneakers, I will wear to every function, no matter what the occasion is. You want me at your black tie event? You best to believe I'm going to be wearing some Converse or something. Comfy shoes are so important.
They are. Okay, next question. This is coming from Julia. Thank you for your question. Which of your protagonists do you think is most like you in personality? Oh yeah, you're back.
Wait, did I go away or did you go away?
You got blurry for a second, and then it only showed us your icon. But it's okay, you've returned.
And you're blurry on my screen. It's technology.
That's okay, it'll work out.
Okay, the question was which protagonist, in any book, or?
I feel like it's any book, any of your books. Which do you feel like is the most like you, personally?
Okay. From my books, it's definitely Remy. It's definitely Remy Cameron.
Mm-hmm.
And then if I'm just doing a book in like books in general, it's gonna be Darius Kellner from Darius the Great deserves better, and Darius the Great is not okay. I remember crying so hard reading that book, not because of the emotion that Adib Karim writes into the book, but just because of the small relatable parts of his journey. It was too real. It was too real for me in the moment. And it was, yeah, it just feels good. It feels so good to have that character in the world.
I agree. We love Adib. He's so good. All right. Next question. What is it that you love about writing contemporary YA as opposed to fantasy or science fiction?
It's a great question because little does everyone know, I watch way more fantasy and sci-fi movies, television, stuff like that than I do consume like a contemporary kind of story. But for me, writing wise, I like that. I like the honesty of a character driven story that doesn't have any other elements but them just existing in the world. For me, getting to, I don't know, getting to I always tell myself when I'm writing a story, I'm trying to give myself the happy ending I didn't get through various different parts of my life. And so being able to do that through contemporary it's almost healing, but also it just feels good to be able to just have a reader centered on just this particular character and the conflict they're currently facing. Also, and not to say that you don't do a lot of world building in contemporary, because trust me, you do. But also, my world building sucks, so I need it to be minimal, and I can't do it. I bow down to fantasy and sci-fi writers for the things that y'all do, for the way you take me from where I am in Atlanta, Georgia, to whatever world you've created. I love it. But I just need to be able to write about a real city. I just do.
I feel like you're not giving yourself enough credit, because the world building that you do, and you did mention that, like, you do world building in contemporary.
Yes.
And like that sense of place, like you totally brought us to the pier. You created a whole bookstore out of, like your imagination. And I immediately got a sense of like what it smelled like, what that comic book corner looked like. And, just the feeling that you could browse for there for hours and, get recommendations, and what kind of recommendations you would get from each of the staff. It's just a particular feeling of home. That's all part of world building, and you did such a great job.
Thank you. I also tell myself all the time, the summer of everything was a one lucky strike. You'll never be able to repeat it. So I don't know. But no, I do appreciate that. And by fingers crossed, book 7 or 8, maybe I'll go for it and just say, you know what, screw it. I want to write this book all about superheroes. I really want to write about superheroes. Let's go.
This is a question from Kay. What are some of your favorite sci-fi and fantasy movies, since you've mentioned it now?
Since I did. Fantasy, sci-fi movies. Let's see. Okay, so, and I don't know if this is going to, I feel like this is, people are, one way or another about it, but I love the movie Stardust. I absolutely could watch it every day of my life. Something about that movie. So good, so good. I was a huge fan, and I think I still am. I didn't dig the Hobbit trilogy, but I definitely still am a fan of the Lord of the Rings trilogy. That just the cinematic feel of that movie. Those movies, I don't know, are great. Let me see, sci-fi wise, what would be like a top one? I know I'm a sci-fi series, I guess, kind of person. Like Star Trek was a huge part of my life. Babylon 5 was a huge part of my life. Stuff like that. Good times, good feelings, lots of nostalgia there.
Great. Yeah, I love Lord of the Rings. It's so funny. I was rewatching part of the Two Towers just to watch Sam's speech because it's so like it just hits a little different, right? It's like,
Yo.
like there's good in this world.
Yeah, right now. Yeah, exactly.
It's worth fighting for.
Exactly.
Here's a question from Matthew. How do you approach writing the comedy part of writing a rom-com?
The funny thing, like comedy and humor comes naturally to me. So I'm very fortunate that I think inside of my head I'm funny. I don't know if it always translates on page, but inside of my head I chuckle at some of my weird thoughts. So that kind of comes natural to me, but I definitely made a conscious effort to pick up a lot more contemporary rom-coms, whether it was adult or young adult, just to absorb craft and how they hit those beats and how they make you so invested while laughing and things like that. Like, because humor is great and everything, but sometimes it can take you out of the moment. And I studied and read a lot of stuff to see, like, okay, what did they do to make me laugh until tears are coming down my face, but I was still very much in this moment and not taken away from the story. So I did a lot of reading of books so I could kind of take in the craft aspect of it.
Awesome. All right, here's a question from Elle. Thank you all for your questions, by the way, so far. They're all been really fun.
Really hard.
Who is the first person that sees your work?
I am a very guarded person, not because I'm worried about people stealing my work. I'm so guarded because I think my drafts are terrible. Of course, all drafts, all first drafts, second drafts, third drafts, they're all terrible. I am so like, oh my goodness, I'm scared to show this to people. I have, so usually it's probably my editor who usually sees a lot of stuff first. For this book, though, let's see, Jude Sierra saw a lot of this book first. She is a fantastic author, and we have a really good connection when it comes to storytelling and the things that we want in our stories. So she saw this one first, but then there, like you saw the beginnings of Remy, and Adi saw the beginnings of the next book. So like, there's different people that I'll source it out to, but I don't think I ever go to the same person twice because I'm like, yo, if this doesn't live up to how they felt about the last one, I'm doomed. I'm gonna shelve this. It's not gonna happen. So yeah, I source out to different people, but usually at the same time I'm sending it to my editor, like, go ahead, just rip me apart so I can fix this.
Yeah, it's so interesting how like writing, like on some level, I'm like, oh, I either want no one to see it until it's like ready and perfect, or I'm just like, what do you think of this sentence? What do you think of this paragraph?
Yeah.
Like, please read this chapter and tell me what you think.
Just make this work for me. I'm totally the same. There are times where I'm just like, I will wait till I polish something. But there's times, I'll send out like a paragraph or a sentence. And I always have to work myself up to that courage because I'm just like, oh, but they're gonna see that the crap is formed, and everyone's always very helpful and whatnot. It's still just, I think as writers, we just have this natural instinct where it's like we want everyone to see us at our best, not realizing that all of us have our worst moments, and that's what gets us to being the best. Like we don't come into any story just like boom, first draft, first time around, this is perfect.
Yeah. There's so much like I feel like in the editing process that comes out of like, oh, making this the best it can be, and like part of writing where you're like, it's scary to like put something down on page, and then like what it can grow to become can be so rewarding and beautiful.
Yeah.
All right, we have another one of these three things question. This is also from Matthew. Netflix, Hulu, or Disney Plus?
I had to think because I my mind automatically went one way, but then I remembered on Disney Plus is working on my Marvel movies. But I've really been into Hulu lately because I'm finally like getting back into watching it. For a long time, I couldn't watch TV series because with all the time you spend writing, it's just so hard to find the time to carve out. But I'm really getting into TV show again. I'm gonna go with Disney Plus because yes, I get my Marvel movies, but during this whole pandemic, I've needed cartoons and animation so bad, and I can get a lot of different movies and TV series through Disney Plus that I need just for that comfort and just for like a moment of levity and just to laugh out loud and stuff. So I'm gonna go with Disney Plus, though that was a really good one. I have subscriptions all. I'm not canceling at all.
All right, I have another one of these three for you.
Okay.
Yellow Card, Weezer, or Blind Melon?
Weezer. Oh my God, they just dropped a great album a few months ago. Was it an album or was it just like I don't know, but they did, and I wanted to add all the songs to Summer Everything's playlist, but I was like, oh, but I'm done with the book now. So I didn't get to it. But Weezer, all the way, mad respect for Yellow Card, mad respect for Blind Melon, but Weezer is like the band of like a whole generation.
Yeah, it was like just like feeling the music. It was just like it brought me back to a very specific place and time. And then I was like listening to your playlist. I'm like, oh my God, Ocean Avenue. Like this is like my high school, like literally that time of like Summer of Everything, where it's like, what am I gonna do with my life? Because I listened to that song like over and over again that summer.
Yes, the good old days of MTV and TRL. Miss it.
Right, here's a writing focused kind of one of these three, and outlining, drafting, or editing.
Editing, because the words are no longer living inside of my head, and I'm able to kind of shape and move things around and take things out and see the story better. But when I'm drafting it, like, it's so crowded in this big old head of mine. It's so crowded in there. And outlining, it's a necessity, but I really do hate it. I legit hate it. But it is such a necessity for me to be able to write with. So yeah.
Yeah, it's an interesting part of the process because every time I'm in one part of the process, I'm like, oh, I hate this. I wish I was doing the other part. And then when I'm in that part, I'm like, oh no, I hate this. I wish I was in the other part.
That's what it is. I think that's what it is. It's like in life where there's things that we really want, and then when we get them, we're like, not so much anymore.
Have you ever like done like where you're writing and you're like, I just want to write the good, like the scene that I love, and I need to go through all of these other things to get to that scene.
All the time, and every time that happens, that's when our editor Annie will be like, well, just write that scene, just go ahead and write them. I'm like, I can't. I am a habitual chronological writer. I cannot step out of line to go write anything other than what's up next on the outline or something, just because I don't know how that's going to change or create an issue getting to that scene now. But yeah, it happens all the time. All my books start with that scene where I'm like, this is why I'm writing the book, this one scene. And then it takes so long to get there. It's worth it, but it's so long.
Awesome. Well, I have one more question. Are there any other projects that you're working on that you can share with us?
Yeah. Let's see. I have another book coming out in spring of 2022. Publishing in years, I can't remember anymore. Time, what is it? It's called Right Where I Left You, and I'm super excited about that. I'm hopping into another revision of that, and I love this story so much. I think it was a chance for me to, again, explore different parts of life that I haven't had a chance to really like dig into in my other books. So very excited about that. I'd love to give you all an elevator pitch, but I suck at it. Let's just say it's about two friends determined to go to a comic book convention and go to their first Pride together. And the main character, Isaac, somehow messes up this opportunity. And now it's a whole time period where he's trying to make it up to his best friend while also dealing with the fact that he's very socially awkward, has a lot of social anxiety, and he's at this point where he's about to start college and he has to figure out, okay, how am I going to do all these things? It's just a lot going on for him, and it's so much fun to really dig into his story, because I said it's a lot going on, but it just feels so relatable in a lot of ways. So there's that. And then I got a couple of short stories and anthologies coming out. I have one in the Up All Night anthology that comes out next year, edited by Laura Silverman, that I'm really excited about people seeing. And then another one in the Fools in Love anthology that I'm going to be working on this weekend. And I have my first paranormal short story. You all cross your fingers. Julian Winters does not totally screw this up. But I'm excited about that. It's the Eternally Yours anthology, edited by Patrice Caldwell. So, yeah.
I bet it's going to be amazing.
Yeah.
Great.
Yes. That's what I'm telling myself.
Awesome. Well, thank you all so much for having us. Do you want to plug your socials? Where can people find you and support your work?
Yeah.
Make sure to click that green button to support, you get that personalized book plate and to get your copy of Summer Everything here.
Or at Mysterious
Galaxy.
Catch me on Twitter at JulianW_writes. I know it's the worst handle ever. They didn't have any Julie Winters playing available on Instagram. Find me at Winters Julian. If I ever get around to updating my Tumblr, it's just Julian Winters. So that's where you can find me. CV, tell us what you have coming up, what you're working on, because come on, I love your stuff.
I have the last book in my Sidekick Squad series that I'm working on, which is about a group of queer teens that take on a corrupt government superhero agency and the government itself. And then I'm going to be part of a Star Wars anthology coming out in November with Empire Strikes Back. So that'll be a lot of fun. And you can also order that through Mysterious Galaxy. All those proceeds are going to First Book Charity. And I also am working on a remix of Treasure Island with it's part of a series with a bunch of amazing folks, including Bethany Morrow, Anna Marie, and Tasha Suri. It's gonna be great. It's gonna be so lovely. And yeah, there's a lot of exciting things to come. Thank you all so much for being here. We're so excited to chat with you. Thank you, Mysterious Galaxy.
Thank you.
Of course. It was our pleasure to have you. And oh my gosh, seriously, so many amazing, awesome projects coming up to keep our eyes out for. I'm like, dang, you guys got us covered for this year and next year and the year after.
I'm excited for that paranormal anthology, Julian. I'm really excited to see your take on it.
I'm super excited. I was about to say, I know how you may feel, but I'm excited, and I know that all the people in the comments are super excited about it too. So we're all like, bring on the paranormal.
Thank you.
Well, I have the unfortunate job of having to end the event and say goodnight to our authors and to all of our amazing readers for joining us. But thank you everyone for hanging out with us, for your questions and your comments. And I want to say this has been an awesome way to end a Friday with joy, because the world needs more joy. And thank you very much, Julian, for sharing it with us and bringing it to us tonight. And CB, thank you as well. It has been such a pleasure. And everyone, get joy in your life and buy this book at that green button down below.
Thank you, everyone.
We'll go
Thank you so
ahead and say good night for tonight. I'll let the authors say good night because you care about hearing them more than me. I don't blame you. But good night, everybody.
Bye.
Bye. Thank you so much.